Welcome to this video lecture on the subtotal function in Excel. What is the subtotal function? It is the ability to have Excel insert for you subtotals into your data automatically based upon criteria you set. Why is it useful? It's useful because Excel will do the hard work for you of inserting the row that you need to insert the subtotal and inserting the functionality, the sum formula or the average formula, or whatever type function you're wanting to create your subtotals on in there for each of the different types of data you're trying to create a subtotal for. It is a two-step process. First, sort the data by the field the subtotal is to be based on the change in. Second, create the subtotal. You must also remember it cannot be used on an Excel table. Here is a set of data that is an Excel table. The first step that I need to do before I can use the subtotal function to create any types of summarizations of my data is to go and convert this into a normal range. I go to my Table Tools Design ribbon and I simply go in the Tools section to convert to range. If you have any doubt whether or not your data is in an Excel table, simply go to the Data ribbon, and if the subtotal function is grayed out, you're still in Excel table. You can also tell because when you're on your data, the Table Tools Design ribbon is active. So from here at the Table Tools Design ribbon, I convert to range. It will warn me I'm doing this. I accept that and say yes. Now I'm ready to use the subtotal function. Let's take a look at that. Over here on the Data ribbon, click on Subtotal, opens up the dialog box. This works fairly simply, but it's important to read the screen to ensure you are getting the result you want. It's telling us that at each change in, and it has a drop-down box, we're allowed to select which of the fields we would like to base our subtotal on. And we can pick one. Then it allows us to use one of a variety of functions. It gives us some that are very standard, but they're all, there's many out there. Sum is the most obvious one. And from there, we get to add a subtotal too, and it lets us pick where we would like it. We can use multiple columns if we choose. Keep in mind which column you're wanting to put your subtotal on will be dependent upon what you're doing. If you look at this day of the week, it does not make sense to sum it up. So I would probably not use that there. If I was just counting, I could count the day of the week. But remember, it's a two-step process. Because it's at each change in, we need to make sure we have sorted the data before we continue. So let's cancel out of this. Let's plan to insert a subtotal of total sales, the sales total column, by widget type. In order to do that, we first need to sort by widget type. So I'm going to sort there. Now you can see all my basics are together and so on. Next, we're ready to use the subtotal function. So I simply click on Subtotal and at each change in widget type, that is exactly what I want. I can put in sum, or let's change and let's select average and let's average the sale total. I'm going to go with the defaults of replace current subtotals just on the off chance that I had left any other subtotals turned on. And I would like a summary below my data, a grand total. Now, when I click OK, it happens instantaneously, and I now have over on the left my three outline buttons, 1, 2, and 3. 3 being the most detailed, showing all of my data. And when I scroll down, you can see I now have at row 130, I have a basic average. So the average daily sales for the basic category of widgets is $1,801.08. I can roll that up by clicking on the 2, and I now see just the basic average, complex average, programmable, and a grand total average. So each of the categories, and you can see overall what the average is. I can roll it up further, or I can use the plus sign and roll it out. I can use these independently, and so I'm just seeing here the programmable details, but not the basic and complex. Or I can go back to where I'm seeing just this or all of it. Pretty straightforward and nice. Once I'm done looking at my summarized data, maybe I've made use of this, I'm all done, I'm ready to change out. I go back to subtotal. I could go ahead and change this to sum, and now I have sum totals, so I have total sales by each of the widget types. And I can continue doing this, or I could add secondary subtotals in there if I so chose. Once I'm all done and I'm ready to go back to entering data, I simply click on subtotal. And here is the easy thing about this. I simply click remove all, and all of those subtotals are gone, and I'm back to my data in its sorted view. Very simple to use if you remember the key, which is sort by the column which you're going to base your subtotal on before you use the subtotal function.